Hey guys, welcome to my video log. This is video 2, and this is my battle, or my journey through battling MDS. Now, a lot has happened in the week, so my last vlog, it was just a catch up and update type stuff. And then I mentioned I was going to go get chemo the next day, so that's what we did. So a week ago on Monday, my wife and I, Alana, we went to hospital, and a very good friend of ours looked after the kids while we did this. And you know, for a good 5-6 hours we're at hospital doing meetings, getting a lot of information. I had my chemo, and we got the drugs that I had to take every day, and all those things were all set and prepped. And Monday afternoon after the chemo, I felt fine. No issues there. I didn't feel sick in any way. I felt pretty good and quite confident. And then Tuesday came, and this is where it started. So Tuesday came. In the morning I was fine. So I had a good sleep. I was doing well. Alana stayed home with the kids, and then I had a couple of scans. So echocardio scan, also abdomen scan to make sure that my organs aren't failing and that I'm ready for the adventure ahead. And I had chemo as well. Then on Tuesday afternoon I went home, and I was not feeling well at all. I was not feeling good. I had to lie down in bed. I was cold and I couldn't get warm, and then it turned out I had a fever. And so what the doctors have recommended, that if you have a fever at home, you call the ambulance straight away, because my immune system's low, so my neutrophils were at say 0.6 at that point in time, and I was at a real high risk of getting sepsis or getting some type of bacterial infection that could be very life-threatening. And so called the ambulance, and the ambulance people took me to the hospital. They took me to a different hospital than the ones that my hematologists are at. And so for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I was pretty much having fevers, being quite ill, not being able to really understand. No, I wouldn't say not understand. I was not in the mood to understand what was happening. I was just quite tired. Because these fevers, my blood pressures were going down, fevers were up. It felt like I ran a marathon every time I would have a fever. And so I was sleeping a lot. I was on the painkillers a lot, and for those days it was quite frightening, quite stressful. And then the hospital that my hematologists were at finally had a bed opening for me, and so I managed to get I managed to get to the hospital where I belong, where all the specialists that know my case are at, and it's a really good hospital, Brisbane Royal Hospital. And so that's where I've been at for a good 4 days now. I've been in hospital for a week now. The staff here are doing a fantastic job. I'm really blessed with the people that are around me. I've still had to move around in different rooms, so it's not something that you can just settle in, if that makes sense. You just have to realize that anytime they could pick you up and move you. So I've returned back to my chemo treatment because my fevers stopped on roughly Thursday or Friday. My fevers stopped, and they put me back on the treatment on Friday. So I've been on chemo since Friday now. They've upped the dosage now because I'm under observation and there's been no side effects. During the week when I had these fevers and all that, for a good week I've been on antibiotics, and as you can see I'm on the IV drips and stuff like that. So the antibiotics, and it was like as if I had a cold 24/7. Not runny nose, not puffy eyes, that type of thing, but just those pains in the muscles and in the joints, that cold, the pain you get before you get the cold, that type of feeling. And so I don't have that anymore. It's now Tuesday, and I'm not on any Panadol. I'm still doing the chemo process. God bless, I'm not even on nausea tablets. It's really working out pretty good, and I thank God for that. Now, there's been a few things that I've learned that I'd like to keep you guys in the loop, if you're going through this like I am. Now, the educational part of this is that the hospital system is great. In Australia, it's good. You know, I'm very grateful for it. But it's still made of people. And so what you need to do is, when you're going into hospital or anything like that, you have to realize that the nurses are still people. They still make mistakes, like any other business out there. There's human error. Sure, they have their checks and their balances, but there's been a number of times where I've asked for something, they said no, and then something happened, and then I go, can I have it now? And they say okay. So there's a lot of human error, but the people who are there are genuinely good people. Good as in they want to take care of people. So if you go to hospital, make sure you have a good understanding that these people are not perfect, that you know what you want, that you ask for it, and you don't just sit by. Okay, you don't force yourself, because they are people. People don't like you being forceful. But what you do is you just go, okay, this is what I want this now, please. And if you don't, I'll go ask someone else. It's that simple. You don't have to get angry or upset with anyone. And in these times, I remember there was this one time I was in a different hospital, in the other hospital, and I could feel the fever coming, and I could feel it coming. My bones were starting to hurt, and I got a bit of shoulder pain, and that was starting to flame up. And I asked the nurse for this drug, painkiller, to help me, and he said no to me. It was a very stressful time, because I was in this ward that closed at 9 o'clock in the afternoon. And when I'm in close, like, there's no more nurses, nothing, lights are off, everything like that. And there was only 2 of them on staff, and they had 2 patients. And the other patient was quite in pain as well. It sounded like the other patient was also a cancer patient that needed a lot of attention. And so I started getting this fever, and I started really losing control of what I could try to focus on, and all those type of things. And there was one good nurse there and one bad nurse. When I mean bad, I mean he did not understand how systems work, and not being a nurse, I could tell, and that means that's bad. So you couldn't even fake it to make it, if you know what I mean. So I was there lying in the bed. I remember I needed those painkillers that I asked for. I was I was needing possibly needing an IV drip and all those type of things, and they were closing at 9 o'clock, and it was like some time it was like 8:30 at night or something like that, and my fever starts kicking in, and in the middle of my fever I could hear the nurses saying, what are we gonna do, because we have to close at 9 and we won't be here. And I tell you what, when you're in the middle of a fever and not knowing what to do, and you feel like you're about to die, honestly, you feel like you're about to die, and you hear the nurses talking more about how they need to leave because their shifts end and there's no beds for you anywhere else in the hospital, you start freaking out. Okay, you do. You start freaking out. And you start thinking about things, and your mind can go in a lot of places at that time. Oh man, it can. I trust me, it can. And I almost went there. I almost went to that point of losing myself. But what I did at that time was I put on some hymn music. And I'm not a hymn kind of guy. I like hymns. I'm not really I like all gospel, I like all worship music. But I put on these hymn kind of instrumental guitar music to play in the background. And the first song on there was It Is Well. And I just sat there and I had a bit of a tear. Yes, I do have a tear every now and then. But I just realized, you know what? It's so important that when you are in that time of crisis, that peak of stress, that, okay, I could die now, any minute. It is so important to say, it is well, that God has us fully covered. So whether I end up with Him straight away, or He puts me through this and I recover, whatever the outcome is, it's a good outcome because God's in control. So, you know how last week I talked about how you need a community and you need a relationship with Jesus? Well, this time, there will be times when you are at death's door and you need to know that Jesus is with you and that He has everything under control. And so, be blessed, guys. It's a crazy journey. I don't think I've been next to near death so many times in my life. And but you know what? God's got this. The next vlog I'll probably do is later on. They expect me to be home this Friday because they're kind of worried about how my body's reacting to the chemo, but it seems to be going well. And so by Friday I should be home, all the chemo done for the first cycle, which is the first month, and then hopefully I could just go home, spend time with the family, work on some productive type stuff that will probably bring some money in later, and then just enjoy life. I'll probably go to church. I really miss church. Alright guys, be blessed.